everybody. My name's Charné Sampson. I'm currently the head chef at Epice, and I'm happy to be cooking along with you to cook Epice's fragrant hake dish tonight.
A big warm welcome to Charné. How are you feeling this evening?
I'm a bit nervous. I mean, this is the first time I've ever done something with cameras, etc. I'm used to just a little kitchen, but I'm excited to be cooking along with everyone at home today.
And we're very excited to have you. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Nick, your off-camera host. Welcome to another episode of our UCOOK-alongs. And to everyone at home, we hope you're excited to get cooking. Charné, can you tell us a bit more about the dish you'll be making?
The dish I'm making today, it's a fish course. So our Epice is based around spices, and the predominant spicing here is a curry flavor. We have it on our menu, in the full tasting menu. It's the fish course, obviously. And then, so there's potatoes, hake, it's a chowder. It's going to be good.
I think it's going to be great. And for those of you watching at home, don't forget to donate to the staff at Epice through the SnapScan codes we'll be putting up, and you can also find them in your box. And have fun this evening. I think that's it for all the details. Charné will be cooking a 2-person portion tonight. But please check your recipe cards to see what you'll be cooking. Are we ready to get started, Charné?
Yes, I think we are.
Let's do it.
So guys, before we get started, just remember to have your oven on at 120 degrees so that all the veg is ready to go in. So I'm going to start off by halving the baby potatoes. You'll see some of the baby potatoes, like this one's a little bit big, so you can just quarter them. This allows for the potatoes to cook evenly throughout, and you'll end up with beautifully crispy potatoes all the way through.
Charné, there's probably a few people at home who aren't quite sure of what a chowder is or how to make it. Can you let us know what makes a chowder?
Well, a chowder is basically a soup which is thickened by milk or cream. So if you're using milk, you normally thicken it with a roux, which is made up of flour and butter. In this case, we're using cream, and it will be thickened up by the potatoes and corn on the cob. Some people regard it as poor man's food because you're literally just throwing potatoes and corn in there with some sort of seafood. In our case, we're using the hake. So it's basically a soup that's thickened with milk or cream. I'm just taking the cob off the little green off the cob. I'm going to pop it all on my baking tray, and then just pop some olive oil over everything, as well as then I'll just season it with some black pepper and salt. So you can just roll your potatoes round in the oil. I don't know if I went a little bit too quickly with chopping the potatoes. I hope everyone's keeping up. And same with the corn. Also, if you're not too keen on baking corn, you can always blanch it. So if you have a rolling boil of water, salted water, you can blanch it for about 7 minutes, take it out, put in ice cold water, and you can cut it off the cob then, if you prefer it not in the oven. So that should be going for about 25 minutes. In this time now, I'm going to toast my cashews. So I'll just get the pan on and get that a little bit hot. So we're toasting the cashews just to bring out more flavor. You're basically caramelizing them, getting a more in-depth flavor. You can also add a touch of salt at this point if you'd like. Often if I have to roast this in the oven, I'd put a little bit of salt over the top and then roast them. Also at a 200-degree oven for probably 5 minutes. It should be done by then, yeah. Just like this.
While our cashews are on the go, we've got a question from Fabian who'd like to know what your fondest memory in the kitchen is.
Oh, I have lots. I'm someone who, if you know me in the kitchen, I'm very loud and I always sing along to everything. I think a few of my fondest memories is working with some people, like the one guy I used to work with, Keegan. We'd always just sing along to songs, but we'd never know the words, but we'd just sing whatever we felt was right. I think that's one of the funnest things about kitchens. You can just be who you are and nobody really judges you. Okay, so these should go a little bit golden, and you'll actually start to smell a sweet smell from the cashews, and that's when you know that they're ready. And just toss it around a little bit so it doesn't just burn on the one side.
And for those of you watching at home, even if you aren't cooking, don't forget you can submit your questions through whatever platform you're watching on, and Charné will be on hand to answer them while she cooks. And hopefully there'll be some nice advice for all our home chefs tonight.
Okay, so my cashews are smelling sweeter, a little bit more flavoursome, so I'm going to pop these off for now. So I'm just popping them back into the same container so they can cool off for later. If your cashews aren't broken up also, then later on you can just chop them so that they're better to garnish with. But do that once it's cooled down a bit. Okay, so now we're going to do some of the veg and the stock. So make sure that your kettle is boiled and your water is warm. But I'll start off with chopping the leeks. So I just halve the leeks first and wash them all off, because often you'll find a lot of sand in leeks and you don't want that gritty flavor pulling all the way through into your actual meal. So I'll just slice these and give them a wash.
And while Charné is rinsing the leeks, don't forget tonight to donate to the staff of Epice. Even if it's 50 Rand, every Rand counts towards supporting restaurants now more than ever.
Okay, now that we don't have sandy leeks, we're going to just chop them. Let's like rough chop, fine chop. I prefer fine chop, obviously. So that's what I'll be doing. Don't feel like you have to do the same as me. Yeah, so you can just chop all your leeks up. I'll chop some finely, I'll chop some a few roughly. You don't feel like you have to.
Charné, for chefs at home who haven't really encountered leeks before, is this a typical way of cooking them in a chowder? What else would you cook with leeks?
It is a typical. I prefer. I mean, you could use onion in this as well, but leeks provide that extra bit of sweetness to a dish, and it's a little bit more fragrant. I mean, I love making a potato leek soup at work often, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is so good. What's in here?" And it's literally potato and leeks cooked down with a bit of chicken stock and seasoned with salt and pepper and some cream to finish off. Some people actually don't believe me, and I just say, well, stay with me next time and you'll see what it's all about.
While we're finishing the leeks, we got another question from a Melissa who wants to know, when did you realize that you first wanted to be a chef?
Well, when I was probably about 16 years old, I started making cakes for, like, it was my little cousin's birthday, and they didn't order a cake, so I thought, oh, I have to make her something. I think she was 1 year old. So I decided to make a novelty cake for her, and then I decided to just branch off and start making it for anyone who asked me. Yeah, and after high school, I went to Silwood, and I completely fell in love after first year of cooking and baking, and the rest of it's really history. Then I just went on to restaurants, and I just love food ever since. And the satisfaction that people feel when they see the dish or they taste the food, it brings back memories. Yeah, that made me stay being a chef. Okay, we're just quickly going to dilute our fish stock. Remember at home, guys, just double check how much water you need. I'm only baking for 2 people, so I only need 400 ml of water added to my fish stock. So you're going to add boiling water to this. More intense. You need to add it at the right time though. If you add lemon zest in the beginning of cooking a dish, it just leaves a cooked flavor in there. But once the dish is cooked through, if you add the zest, it leaves a very fresh aromatic flavor in the food.
But Anna would like to know, what's your favorite comfort food in cold Cape winter?
Oh, in cold winter. I must say a specific flavor profile in whatever you're making. You can add that to your stock. So if you're making a fish stock but you love fennel, you can add fennel to your stock and that will pull through instead of just you don't know what's in a shop bought stock daily. So that's what I prefer about a homemade stock. Yeah. And it only takes like 30 minutes to make a fish stock specifically. So it's really quick and easy. But before this butter gets too hot, I'm going to add half my leeks to this base of the chowder. So we're using half for the base of the chowder, and the other half will wait to make our zesty spinach. Okay, so while these leeks are going, I'm just going to season it with a little bit of salt. I like to season as I go so that right at the end, everything sort of just comes together and you're not biting into a potato that's not seasoned or, you know. A little bit of pepper. Okay, so you should be getting quite a fragrant smell coming out of these leeks. They look quite bright and green. So now we'll add the curry powder. Okay, but first let's just quickly pop our hake in the oven as well. So this is what I meant by we're multitasking. We've got leeks going, we've got hake going. So what I'm going to do, just grab my hake, pop some of the curry powder on top. Then we can season it. Add a little bit of olive oil. And then I hope you guys have a non-stick grease-proof pan to put the fish on. If you don't, you can also use some grease-proof paper on there or a little bit of silicone paper just to ensure that the fish doesn't stick to the tray when you try getting it off. So we're going to turn this over onto our baking tray. We're going to put a little bit more curry powder on top, as well as a little bit of salt. Just a touch of oil. And then we're going to...
Is there a reason that we are doing it skin side up? I know a lot of people may be used to cooking fish skin side down.
Well, I like it skin side up because if you do it skin side down, obviously all the juice in the fish runs to the bottom. And if that happens, you're going to end up having a fish with a soggy bottom, and you don't really want that, you know. You want almost a crispy skin if you can do that. So what I'm going to do now is pop this in the oven. And while I'm popping this in the oven, I'm just going to check on the potatoes and the corn and give that a quick stir.
Those of you cooking at home, don't forget to watch your oven. Each oven is different, isn't that right, Charné?
That is 100% correct.
Another tip for everyone at home, keep an eye on what you've got in there because sometimes some are hotter than others.
So let's just give your pot a stir. Okay, I think I'll turn down the heat a little bit while I just mix up my potatoes, just so that they can get a bit crispy and golden on the other side, as well as the corn. If you can see, I don't know if you can see, this one rolled over and you can see that's still pretty raw while this side is cooked. Okay, so we'll pop this back in for later. Okay, so now we can carry on with our chowder. I'm just going to add the curry powder. You can add the rest of it. Well, we're basically cooking until you can smell it smelling good. You know, everyone has their own feel to cooking, so I trust you'll feel the spices tonight. The curry powder, it's quite fragrant and the smells will start pulling through. You might feel a bit of a cough, don't cough. But yeah, once you can smell the curry powder smell cooking out, You can then add your de-alcoholized wine, which we've got for you, and that will just deglaze the pan. Oh. So there we go. So that's Flavor Town right there. So you've deglazed with wine, and that's just picking up all the extra juices that are in the pan, so that it doesn't necessarily burn while we add the rest of the ingredients. I just want to give my hands a quick wash. Okay, so the next step to this is to add our fish stock. Let's pop this on again. So I'll just add all the fish stock. And let that go just until it starts to boil again, and I'll add the cream. And that will simmer for about 10 to 12 minutes. Just let this go a bit.
Right, well, the chowder's on. We got another question from Kimberly, who wants to know, what is your favorite dish on your restaurant's menu?
I have to say the oysters. That was purely me from the beginning to the end. And most people actually do enjoy it. So it's very simple. It's an oyster. I made a cucumber tiger's milk. So it's basically cucumber juice with coconut cream. Spoon it on top. And it's finished off with coconut cream. And the main thing about it is the vindaloo dressing. That's the spice throughout. So we add it to on the side, and you can add as much as you'd like. Because I know some people like that extra vuma with the oyster, Tabasco, black pepper. So we'd rather allow the customer to add as they'd like. Okay, so it's come to a bit of a boil again. I'm going to add the cream. And that can just simmer for 10 to 12 minutes.
So the chowder is simmering. The rest of the veg and the fish are in the oven. Charné, I don't know if you know, we have a tradition here on the UCOOK-alongs, but we have a little challenge up our sleeve for you. Would you like to know what it is?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've seen it. I was hoping, I don't even creep up on me now.
I hope you've been practicing, because it is time for the UCOOK-along Onion Chop Champ Challenge. And we want to see how fast you can chop an onion. Are you ready to go?
I think I'm ready. I'm as ready as can be.
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
Right, we are set up. We will start the timer when I count down from 5. Are you ready to go, Charné? On the leaderboard, you've got a time to beat, I think, of 16 seconds, which was set by Daniel Toledo.
Okay, I think
Hope
I'm
we
ready.
can beat him. Safety first, though, but we are going for speed and
Yes.
not for nice, fine chopped onion. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, chop. And time!
How did I do?
Charné, you got a time of 13 seconds.
Did I?
That makes you number 1.
Yes, yes. I practiced this morning, I won't lie.
Charné, that was an absolutely incredibly fast onion chop session there. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I haven't been stressed, but it's pressure. You're a chef. Can you chop an onion?
You absolutely can. So while our chowder's simmering, our rest of the food is in the oven. We're going to be taking a very quick break for about 2 minutes. So everyone at home, make sure you check your veg, make sure it's not burning, and a low heat on the chowder. Is that right?
Yes, low heat.
Great. So pour yourself a drink. We'll be back in the next 2 minutes with more.
Hi guys, welcome back. I hope your kitchens are smelling as fragrant as mine is right now. I must say, I'm a bit jittery and after that onion challenge, but I'm feeling good.
For those of you watching at home, we may have had a slight break in transmission on one of our channels, but don't worry, this entire cook-along is recorded and you can catch it on YouTube straight afterwards. But Charné, are we ready to get back into our cooking?
Yes, we are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the oven, just check on the hake and also take out the cobs of corn because those should be ready now. So once you pop your hake out, if you just feel it, it feels a little bit soft and it's ever so slightly flaky and it looks a bit opaque, so it's ready to come out now. And then I'll just pop the corn out as well. The potatoes are going to go back in the oven though, because those can get a little bit more crispy before we need them. So, you can use gloves or tongs for your corn. It is warm. So, and then we'll just stir up the potatoes again, and we'll pop these back in the oven. There we go.
Charné, could you tell our viewers a little bit more about your restaurant, Epice? And, you know, it's a young restaurant. It opened up at the end of last year. What has the lockdown been like for you?
Well, while I'm talking about that, I'm just going to cut the corn kernels off the cob and pop them in the chowder mix that's on a low simmer on your flat top. Well, we're quite a young restaurant. I'm not sure if everyone even knows us, but we're based in Franschhoek. We just opened on the 19th of November last year. So, I mean, we're a very young team. I'm 25, and I think everyone's basically younger than me that's on the team. The restaurant's based on spices. So when you think of spices, don't think, oh, burn your mouth, this is too hot spicy, but rather levels of flavor. So when you're eating something, you get a flavor of cumin, and then all of a sudden, there's a cinnamon flavor that's coming through. So that's each course. So there's about 10 courses. Each course is based around a spice. And that's basically the inspiration behind the whole restaurant. Yeah.
And what was it like for you when the lockdown began?
Well, when lockdown began, I mean, all of us were a bit in awe. I mean, no one could plan for this. All of us were we just got together as a team. We were so excited. You know, new things were beginning, and we're like, oh, we're going to make our name. We're going to be amazing. And then all of a sudden, lockdown happened, and nobody knew what the future would hold, you know. So I think for everyone, it was just a little bit, you could almost say traumatizing to an extent. Some people weren't sure, you know, are we going to reopen when restaurants started shutting down, you know, because we're so new. But at least, I mean, we are closed for now, but we are looking to reopen in October. So, yeah.
For those watching at home, don't forget you can donate to support the staff at Epice with the SnapScan codes on social media, one that you'll find in your box, and once again, at the end of the show. So, Charné, let's carry on cooking. Where are we now?
Okay, so we have a zesty spinach and leek that goes in the dish. So this is the spinach. I'm just going to rinse it off. And then I don't know if you can see, some of them have quite big stalks over here. These can sometimes tend to be a bit woody and hard. So you can just pick these off. And then we'll just use the leaves. I mean, if it's a bit smaller and not that thick, you'll keep it on, that's fine. But like that's perfect. But if it's a bit big, you can just pick them off. Let me just do that. And then I'll give them a rinse. So in our chowder, I've added the corn. And that's just, I've actually put the heat off now because all the flavors can just infuse for now.
We've got a question from Jane who wants to know, can you use an air fryer for this dish?
I don't think so. I know you can definitely do the potatoes in there. You can definitely do, I mean, my mom uses an air fryer. She's probably watching now. She got one recently, and that's just the best thing. I mean, I don't think we even need an oven in our house anymore. But yeah, you can definitely do the fish in there, the potatoes, the corn. But the sauce, I think you need the stovetop for that. And then you'll just bring everything together again. Yeah, these look good. I hope everyone's keeping up.
Got another question while you're busy with the spinach from Rodney, who wants to know what wine you would pair with this meal if we were allowed to buy wine at the moment.
If we were allowed to buy wine, I'd say a Chardonnay or a Riesling. I know at the restaurant, I think it's the Klein Constantia Riesling that we actually pair with our dish. The reason for that is that the acidity and the fruitiness in there just helps translate the food and just uplifts the whole dish. Hey, for those of you who stashed up, well done.
Go look for that Riesling you've been keeping for a special occasion. Tonight is the night.
Okay, so my spinach is ready to be rinsed off. And then for your pickled ginger and your parsley, I'm just going to chop that up a little bit. I love pickled ginger in a fish dish. That rhymed. It just adds this like floralness to it it's just amazing. I love it. I don't know how to explain it, but you'll taste it today. So I'm chopping it quite finely. Again, if you don't chop it as fine, it's okay. Don't feel pressured.
I can't speak on behalf of our chefs at home, but I've only seen pickled ginger sort of with takeaway sushi, so it's nice to know there's another really great use for it in a sort of home cook.
I think just as long as you're tasting your food as you're going along, so you don't overpower the whole dish. It's just amazing with all fish meals. When we make some tartare, so if you have a fish tartare, you can just add some pickled ginger as well, some fresh parsley, and it just uplifts everything.
And also those people cooking at home tonight, if you are smelling the dish that you're making, also take a moment for all the great colors we have in this dish. Quite phenomenal.
At Epice, we also try to make it a little bit South African, if you could say so. I've had a few people who come and they'd eat this dish specifically and they'd be like, oh, it just reminded me of when my mom used to cook this when I was younger. But yeah, throughout the whole menu, we actually try to incorporate a few Cape Malay flavors, if I could say so. So we have like a Cape Malay snoek with your tapas. Then on one of the starters, we have slange cheese. I don't know if everyone knows what that is, but it's basically a chickpea-based dough with some added spices, and then you sort of pipe it into a fryer, and then it's like a crisp almost that you eat. So we've really tried to incorporate South African as well as international flavors throughout the menu. And all our wines that we used at the restaurant were all local. Just so, you're coming into Franschhoek, it's the wine capital, if I could say so. Just to experience what's right here on our doorstep instead of getting everything that's international, or not from the actual valley. Okay, so I think that parsley is fine enough. Okay, so now we're going to start cooking our zesty leek and spinach mix. So I've just popped my pan on so I can get a little bit warm. So you've got the rest of your chopped leeks and you've got your spinach as well. This is where we'll be using the lemon zest. So you can just, if you feel the pan, obviously use the back of your hand, because if you clench, you're going to grab the hot pan. That's feeling a little bit warm. So we can add a bit of olive oil. Oopsie. Okay, so just let that get a little bit hot. Then I've got my wooden spoon.
How hot should we be making this pan?
Hot enough, if that's a thing.
That's the right answer.
Well, you'll see like the oil sort of pulls, like you can see it sort of pulling away like that. You know, normally it would just stand still, but it's sort of moving, if I could say so. Now you can add the leeks in, and you'll hear that sizzle. Okay, so we're just going to saute these leeks down. Okay, so you can see that bright green color again. So we can just season with a bit of salt, some pepper, and then we can add the leeks, just so, sorry, the spinach, just to wilt the spinach in there. You'll see this goes pretty quickly. You get that lovely fragrant smell as you're going through this as well.
Now, Charné, a question we like to ask all our chefs. What are the 3 ingredients you can't live without in your kitchen?
3 ingredients. 3. Garlic, onions, butter.
Classic combo.
Best smell. If I could add thyme in there, I would. But that as a base on, I mean, you use that when you make some, if you want to cook a piece of meat, tasty. If you want to cook a base, tasty. I mean, yeah. So I've added my lemon zest. I'm just mixing that through. And now you can turn the heat off. You can see the spinach is nicely wilted and everything is green. And to finish off, we'll just add a quick squeeze of fresh lemon juice as well. So just use one of the wedges that you actually cut up earlier. Tasty. There we go. Okay, so now we'll just give this a quick taste. You can pop your chowder back on just to heat up, because I think we're just about ready to plate. That's good. Hot. That was good. Okay, so to the chowder, we're going to add some of our chopped ginger and parsley and just taste. Add as your preference to whatever you like, obviously. So we're going to garnish with whatever's left. Not all of it, but, you know, just to make it look a bit more fine dining. So some fresh parsley. I quite like the parsley as well, to add that freshness. So just mix that through. I mean, look how gorgeous that looks. Yellow, pink, and green. Okay, so just give it a quick taste. Baby potatoes. So you'll just grab them. And then I like to place it almost around in a circle, and then my zesty leeks and spinach will go in the center, and the fish will rest on the zesty leeks and spinach, because when you break into your fish, you want that zestiness to come through with it as well. There we go. Then we'll just place some of these, a little bit of the go. Then we'll do chowder. So you of course want some corn, you want a little bit of sauce in each plate. So again, I'm just going around and on top of the potatoes. So the potatoes almost soak up all the creamy goodness. I'm just adding a bit more of the sauce to each one.
I hope it's cold wherever our home chefs are cooking this, because this does look like the perfect winter dish, if I'm honest.
Oh yes. And last but not least, we can pop our fish on. So you want almost like an offset. This is what I'm using. You just pop it under the fish. See, so it's quite important that you use the non-stick or some greaseproof paper, otherwise your fish will stick. Just pop that in the center. And we can, on the side, you'll have your fresh lemon wedges to enjoy. And then we'll just finish off with, remember, you've already seasoned your dish with your ginger and your parsley. So this is just to bring out a bit more color, to make the dish more visually, you know, appealing. So just popping a little bit of chopped parsley around the edges, along with just a little bit of pickled ginger. And some cashews. This is to add crunch, and you know, it's just spoiling yourself with the cashews. And there you go. You're ready to enjoy Epice's fragrant hake dish.